So say I want to draw 2 sine of x. So 2 sine of x would be a sine graph. It has something in front of this. And we know from earlier working with transformations of graphs that has something in front of it that's going to do a vertical stretch. Could also do a vertical shrink, but usually that only happens when you have something less than 1, when you have a fraction. When it's a whole number, it's called a vertical stretch. So if I know my normal sine graph, so my normal sine graph starts at 0, goes to pi, 0 again there, and then at 2 pi, which is where it ends, it goes to 0 again. Halfway between is where it hits the highest. Its highest is 1. And halfway in between is where it hits the lowest. Its lowest is -1. So this would be pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. So if I draw it, it looks something like this. So vertical stretch means that every point here is going to stretch by 2. And the cool part with graphing trig functions is when we stretch it by 2, we really only need to indicate where it ends up. So instead of ending up at 1 and at -1, it's going to end up at 2. So it's going to end up all the way up here and all the way down here. So the graph, instead of looking like this, do I have a blue marker? I think I do. Hold on. Instead of looking like this, would go all the way up to 2, still be at 0 because vertical stretching 0 doesn't do much, and then all the way down to -2. So vertical stretch basically just changes how far it goes up. Instead of it going up to 1, it goes up to 2, and how far it goes down. So instead of going down -1, it goes down to -2. This is going to be called the amplitude. Amplitude is basically how far a thing goes up, how far away it is from 0, the highest it gets from 0. So the amplitude of this sine is going to be 2. And the amplitude of any sine graph, and actually any cosine graph, tends to just be the number in front of the sine. So for any sine, if you have k sine of x, your amplitude is just going to be the absolute value of k, because it could be a -2 sine of x. All the negative would mean is that it flipped over the x-axis. It would still just be an amplitude of 2. So amplitude of any sine or cosine, we'll get to a cosine graph in a bit, is just going to be the absolute value of the number in front of the sine, or just the number in front of the sine. Okay, let's look at another one.